So it finishes Real Sociedad 0, Real Madrid 1. Not quite the same drama as we saw yesterday, of course, in that 4-4 draw between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. As we welcome in Luis Garcia to the show. Luis, Real Madrid will be delighted, won't they, with this?
Yes, of course. Get the chance of winning away in this competition is always a pleasure, and they're gonna get back. Let's not forget today it was all about getting a good result, no injuries, try to rotate players. We saw that Ancelotti actually put a couple of 3 players rested for their Benito Villamarín against Real Betis at this weekend, and it was all about to try to keep on going, keep the momentum, give it a little bit of minutes to Henry, to Arda Güler, players who haven't been involved that much. He tried with Asensio in the right side, maybe thinking about the future. If he doesn't have any more options, didn't work that well because he was exposed in the first 45. He was replaced by Lucas Vázquez. But in the end, a very good result. And in the other side, we saw Real Sociedad, like the rest of the year in the domestic competition, with all up and downs, very good plan, fantastic result. But when they arrived in the last third, they have a lot of problems, missing the last pass, missing the last chance, no composure when they are in front of the keeper. Lunin was having a fantastic night, a great performance by the keeper once again. So a very good result, and we'll have to wait and see, because I think that the semi-final is still open. We'll have to wait and see in April when the second leg will arrive at the Bernabeu.
And you see this from Endrick, that's when you start talking about a player that could make a difference in the future. But in order for that to be the case consistently, then we need to see more of Endrick doing this sort of thing. Not chasing the game, but allowing the game to come to him and showing the patience and maturity that he hasn't shown so far. And that's to be expected because he's a very young player. But that quality of finish, Real Sociedad don't have that. Real Madrid does.
Yeah. That touch was that touch from Endrick was much more difficult than it looked, because it wasn't high enough to take on the chest, and it was a bit too high to get it on his adjust to get it on his foot, and he almost let it hit his midriff. So as I said before, he is confident in his own ability, but he showed that he can adjust. So it was a good day at the office for Real Madrid, but you can read Real Sociedad like a book, can't you?
Absolutely.
Tabi Kuba's probably going to be the liveliest player.
Yep.
Ayazabal's going to put himself around. They're going to play some decent football, some very good football from back to front, and they ain't going to score enough goals. And that's part of their problem. And I think Real Madrid sort of knew that in the end and just said, all right, just keep with shape, take the 1-0, go back to the Bernabeu, thank you very much.
Exactly, and with no injuries as well, Luis. As you mentioned, that's key, because let's just remind you what Real Madrid have got coming up. It is a tough schedule. It is relentless. There's no time for a break, obviously. Those 2 Champions League ties, very much the key to Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid's success in Europe, but still fighting on all fronts in La Liga as well. And what's interesting with that, Luis, is that there's no chance to take a breath, really. Every game is a game they have to win.
Yeah, from now on, they all become finals. You are in the semi-final of the Copa del Rey. You're going to be competing at the highest level against Atletico de Madrid. Probably we are used to it because there's been a lot of talks about, we don't want to see Real Madrid against Atletico de Madrid in the Champions League, but it's because we watch them every single weekend. We saw the clashes between them during the season, but in the rest of Europe, the rest of the world, Real Madrid against Atletico is going to be an amazing clash, because both teams are at the highest level at the moment. They are in a great momentum, and definitely it's not going to be easier for any of them. Real Madrid against Villarreal and Rayo Vallecano, 2 very difficult games they got in hand, and they cannot drop any points because Barcelona is ahead of them in the competition at the top of La Liga, so they need to continue getting the results. So yeah, it's going to be a tough month and a half, but I think it's going to be for every single team they are chasing for the race.
Good man, Luis. Thank you very much. Real Madrid then very much with the initiative going into that second leg. Meanwhile, for the other time, of course, it's very much all to play for. April the 2nd will be the game at the Metropolitano, live on ESPN+. Arne Slot, of course, watching from the stands, serving that 2-game suspension. He wouldn't see Newcastle master a single shot on target. Liverpool pick up 3 points, and it would get even better for the Reds, because elsewhere in Nottingham, Arsenal could only manage a 0-0 draw against Forest. Once again, so lacklustre in the final third. Only 1 shot on target for them in the entire tie. The spoils are shared, and what that means is that you'd be a very, very brave Arsenal.
It's over!
To suggest anything but that it's over. Liverpool are 13 points ahead of Arsenal with only 10 games to play in the Premier League. Arsenal do have a game in hand, but blooming heck, it would take one heck of a turnaround for it not to be Liverpool, who are champions of England. Nedum Onuoha joins us. We'll hear from Nedum in a moment. Stevie, this is kind of this season in a nutshell. Yeah. Liverpool, professional job, did what they had to do, comfortable win. Arsenal, unable to score goals.
Yeah. You know, at this stage of the season, when you're sat top of the league, and you haven't quite got over the line yet, so you just got to keep winning. And to do it in the manner they did, no drama. Yeah. That's what you want. You want no drama. You want to dominate the game. You want to control the game. You want to take your chances when they come along, and then the final whistle goes and it's another 3 points. And that's exactly what it was. I will say that when I saw that Isak wasn't playing, I was confident Liverpool would win this game. But when I saw Isak wasn't playing, I was expecting it. Because without him, they're a different team on the counter-attack. And so it was a great performance. It was a champions performance.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
And no drama.
Performance of champions.
Slick.
Yeah.
Again, without being sensational.
Brilliant,
no, without being fantastic. It was just more than good enough. Against Szoboszlai, you know, Mo Salah, McAllister, not just his goal. We were talking about it. McAllister's all-around game. You know, whether it's getting the ball off the back four with a man tight to him and getting away or making a pass, or whether it's backing up the forwards, or whether it's filling in for a fullback, he pretty much does it all. Newcastle, no shots on target. And where do you see Liverpool slipping up? Never mind dropping, even if Arsenal win the game in hand, Liverpool would have to drop 11 points. 10 for Arsenal to be level, 11 for them to get ahead. They don't look like dropping any, really. And Arsenal, I mean, you mentioned the goals were a problem again. Well, yeah, but creating anything decent was a problem. And then when you create something tangible, and a Mikel Merino or a Trossard or a Wanya, whoever it is missing those chances, you go, well, maybe a striker would have put that in. But they're not even, and not just this game, West Ham at the weekend, they're not even creating those, you know, those great chances, those, you know, oh, should have scored, or that was a... They're not even creating those that you go... They're just flat as a pancake, and if you listen to Arteta, it just looks like he's, in the league, he's given up the ghost this season, and that's how they look on the field.
Yeah, very much so. Liverpool head and shoulders above everyone else, really, Nedum, isn't it?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think as you saw today with Stevie saying it as well, they just looked so confident. I think for me, when I look at certain teams, look at individuals, when they make it look easy, just think about how good they must be. And as Liverpool have shown in the recent weeks, and especially in this game, this is against a dangerous Newcastle side, a side who would be travelling to Anfield hoping to maybe leave a mark before the Carabao Cup final in a few weeks' time. But instead, Liverpool made them look like the most routine of sides. It was so comfortable for them defensively, in midfield, in attack. You know, you've got Salah, you know, having one of the most iconic seasons in Premier League history as well. So it's fantastic for Liverpool to be in that position. But then we look at the other side, look at a team like Arsenal going to play against a dogged Nottingham Forest side, but not being able to have that spark, not having the individuals to have those moments. And instead, it's almost like paint by numbers. This is what it's going to be. We're going to play this way. We might create a chance, or we don't create a chance. And as Craig was saying, they're not creating huge opportunities on a week-to-week basis. And I think, realistically, if you do create those and you don't take them, you say, well, we've got some momentum going into the next game. But today against Forest, there wasn't really much there beyond the set pieces. And when those set pieces are going in, then great. But otherwise, you know, this was a must-win game for them, as is the case with all the other ones. But instead, you know, the title's done. And for Arsenal, they need to try and find some sort of form and good energy before the season fizzles out with nothing at all.
What's happened to them, Nedum? Over the last 18 months, you know, Arsenal were the team to watch, given the entertainment value as well as the results they were getting. And obviously, injuries are a massive factor in that. But it can't be the only factor, can it?
No, absolutely not. I think in the previous, say, 2 seasons, I think Arsenal have been very, very consistent, but they've sort of let themselves down in key moments throughout the season. Whereas this year, you saw the way that they started with some of the red cards that they were receiving. You look at some of the injuries that they then had at key moments. Odegaard being out for a stretch, you can see the impact that had, and then that was followed by a Saka injury. And I think for Arteta, he was faced with the sort of dilemma of, well, how do you replace these players? Because for the past 2 years prior, in the success that they'd had, relatively speaking, those players were stalwarts. They were ever present. They were playing basically every minute of every game. And now the people that were coming in weren't able to sort of have that same impact. And yes, they still had the dogged nature in terms of how they defended. But I think you could sense from early in the season that the defence itself was not going to be the difference between them being successful this year or not being. And now some of those games arrived where defensively, oh, it's good. You know, they've not conceded. They've only conceded one. But can you score two? Can you score one? And unfortunately, like some of the issues which they've had, that's basically been it. They've not been able to score enough. And as a consequence, they just fall further and further behind Liverpool, the team who can find ways to win a game of football however they like. Whether it's a 1-0, whether it's a 4-0, control a game with the tempo or be more direct and be like hair-raising type football. Liverpool are the complete package. But for Arsenal, they just feel like a defensive side at the moment. They're good at set pieces.
Is it a coincidence that Arteta pretty much grew up with Pep, and both sides are kind of morphing into each other? The that dynamism that Arsenal once had is completely gone. And when you watch Arsenal, in my opinion, okay, against Forest, you can see how it happens. That you get a lot of the ball, and there's men behind the ball, and you can't find any space. But this has been happening for the last 2 or 3 months. It's slow build up, let everybody get back in position. Any team, regardless of who it is able to defend against you. It's just like watching City. Is it a coincidence that Arteta's a disciple of Pep? I don't think so.
I would also say that when Arsenal were trying to figure out who they were going to be this season, there was this sort of this plan or this philosophy that we're going to be nasty. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to win challenges. We're going to be tough to beat, and we're going to depend on the set pieces that Nedum is talking about. You can't fake nasty. See, historically, we've known, say, for example, Atletico Madrid, that defensively they've been nasty and they thrive in that environment. This group of players of Arsenal is not built to do that. Odegaard is not that player. Bukayo Saka is not that player. They have talented players in the attack to be a dynamic group, like Stevie was just mentioning. And so they got into this groove of, we're going to fight people. We're going to get red cards. We're going to get yellow cards. We're going to win on set pieces. This is who we are. That's not who you are as a team in terms of the player personnel that's available to Mikel Arteta. And they were never able to then evolve to what they once were. They got caught up in between in either being a creative team or a nasty team. And in between teams usually struggle to get results with consistency. And we saw that from Arsenal over the course of this whole season.
It boils down to recruitment, doesn't it?
Well, you look at that, you look at Marino up top, and yes, Jesus is injured, and Havertz
Well,
is
you
injured,
look at
but come on.
Moreno as a full picture. Did they really... And I'm not saying he's a good player, he's a Spanish international, but he doesn't always play. But they brought in Calafiore, who's a good player. Mikel Merino is a good player, but he's a midfielder. They had Partey, they had Jorginho, they had Rice, they had Odegaard. They then go and bring in Sterling. Stevie calls him a bust. That's hard to argue with that. Probably not even as good as that. So they brought these players in to bolster the midfield, which it has, but they were sorely lacking. And are they the only ones that didn't see this, or were they so stuck in their own ways that they thought the Havertz thing's going to work for us? I know he's injured. Gabriel Jesus, you couldn't rely on him. Came in, scored some goals. Unfortunately, he got injured. The Saka is the big blow. I understand that, but sometimes you have to cope with these things. But when they went out and spent money in the summer, did it have to be in another midfielder who was going to play probably 50% of the games when you needed really somebody up front? That has been glaring for a lot of people. And now that's biting them in the backside.
To that point, at the start of the season, the majority of us went for an Arsenal win to win the Premier League. So what did we not see then that has obviously transpired? Or did we just think that there was enough there to get them across the line?
I think we thought that City would struggle to keep it going, but not as bad as it's been. I don't think anybody saw that. But I think we saw City. Did they have the push and desire to go again? And it's been more than that. But I also thought the reason I certainly went for Arsenal with the problems that they still have and have had is because I never for 1 second thought Liverpool were going to be as slick as they have been. So I felt it would be Arsenal or City.
Yeah.
And City, for all those reasons I mentioned...
Frank's on the phone.
Yeah. I never at any point felt that Arne Slot could come in and deliver what he's done. And for those reasons, I thought Arsenal would have had enough. But it has been quite clear that when teams raise their game, Man City and now Liverpool, Arsenal have been left wanting. And they're going to have to go away and look at themselves and say, right, are we going to keep denying the fact that been in denial that we need to sign a top-level striker if we're going to be operating at the top of the league or possibly winning the league. And if they don't do that and don't address it, he's going to be out of job in 12 months, 18 months, or whatever it is. If other teams keep winning the league, if Liverpool go again, if City come back, if Chelsea somehow come up with the goods and they're back in the title race and Arsenal are still not doing it, he's under big pressure.
Should we see how the bookies have this, by the way, with regards to the title race? Where are we at? Odds on, obviously, for Liverpool, but how much? Let's take a look. 100 to 1, so you've got about $100 on to win $1.
All right.
That's where we're at. So I think it's fair to say.
I'm going to go ahead and skip that one.
Then it's all over. Last word to you on the Premier League title race, Nedum?
Yeah, I think, I thought it was going to be a good race, but Arsenal have just fallen off, and Liverpool by far have been the most consistent side this season. Sometimes you could look at them earlier in the year and we said, they're not maybe playing to their best and so on, but they had the ability to grind out results from the get-go. And for them to be in this position now, as we saw today, the way they played, there's so much confidence, so many players in great form, and they know that the title's going to be there. So they're going to enjoy these games domestically. And I can't see them really dropping many points between now and the end of the season, to be honest.
I think we all thought there was going to be a lot of goals in this game.
Well, there was. Erling Haaland got one chopped off.
That's only one more. And that didn't count, so that's what an irrelevant point to me.
What's that?
Well, I said that we were expecting goals, there was only one, and you bring up one that was chalked off.
Well, there was another one.
Well, yeah, but there wasn't another one. That's the whole point. It's not a real goal, is it? If it's got chalked off.
I have no idea, because this, and it tells you where these two teams are. They were on the far corner.
Yeah, that's completely right.
People were watching other games,
Yes.
the Copa del Rey, the Liverpool, Newcastle, bit of Arsenal Forest.
It's an afterthought. Spurs City is an afterthought.
It's an afterthought, and it doesn't do any more favours for Postecoglou, who remains to be under pressure. It wasn't, from what I saw, Nedum probably watched it a lot more than us. It didn't look brilliant from City either. Spurs had the chances, but it's an afterthought.
Nedum, it sounds like we're coming to you.
Yeah, it's coming over to me, yeah. Thought City were good first half, and then second half they were very much clinging on. I think as you saw the people who are going to be on the bench for Spurs and Kulusevski and Son, you knew that at some point Postecoglou is going to put them on. It's going to be chaotic. They're going to create opportunities. And for the way that we've seen City in the last 3-4 months, the last 15 minutes of games have been a mess, to say the very least. And in some ways, they're lucky to have not conceded today. But I'm with Craig. I don't really understand why that Haaland goal was disallowed late doors. But
No, it doesn't matter.
It didn't really
I'm not discussing that.
It was literally a second
You won
later.
the game. It's fine. It's all
Fine,
right.
all right, cool. Sorry, let's move on. Yeah, come on, City. Yeah,
I know.
It's all good, Dan. Cheers.
City going to be
Cheers for
top 4? Or top 5,
Yeah.
wherever the blooming heck we are. But that's that.
I think so.
Yeah.
No, I think they'll scramble in there. What?
I think I'll change my mind.
Oh, of course, you said they weren't
said
going to
the
make
other
top
day.
4 on Monday.
Did you?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Well, I was sitting here going, right, it's between City, Villa and Newcastle, right?
Right.
And I plumbed for Villa. And of course, what did they do? They turned around.
They lost against Palace.
And they lose against Crystal Palace away.
Yeah.
So I'm changing my mind. I'm agreeing with Nedum today.
Okay.
I disagreed with him the other day. Yes, City.
Which, in essence, means that you're disagreeing with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have known better.
Does anyone else want to say anything else about this?
Well, I'll talk about the Haaland goal if you want.
That's it. That's your contribution.
No.
Brilliant.
VAR.
Manchester United 3, Ipswich Town 2. Taking a look at what that means at the bottom of the table. Those 3 points for Manchester United take them back above Everton to 14th. Meanwhile, Ipswich are in that trio of doom, aren't they, really? With Leicester, who play West Ham tomorrow, and Southampton. Right? Who's got what on this? Right?
Well, if Leicester's playing, then you go with the opposition.
What?
If Leicester's playing, you go with the opposition.
What are you
What are you
talking about?
We're talking about Manchester United,
We're talking about
Ipswich.
Manchester United.
I thought you said West Ham Leicester.
Oh yeah, that's exactly where we're going with this, Stevie.
David, we'll just show the Manchester United highlight.
Well, because what do you want me to see about Man United?
Well, that's what I was asking.
Guess what?
Who wants to talk
Guess
about
what?
Leicester?
Guess what? The garbage. And they beat Ipswich. Big wows. Who cares? That's even more redundant than City against Tottenham.
Ah, dear. But what character? You're down to 10 men, 2-2.
The fight.
Rally in the second half.
I was gushing with admiration.
What you-
What about Leicester?
Oh dear. Burley,
Well,
what do you want to say?
a bit like the Chelsea game in a sense against Southampton, you learn nothing really. All right, maybe I don't know, I've not heard what his press conference was. He might say character and all that because we went down to 10 men. Dorgu had a disastrous evening, didn't he, with the goal, and the tackle was a horror tackle, really. But yeah, I mean, kind of where they are, isn't it? 14th, Everton might jump them again, or West Ham might be able to jump them. It's kind of where they are, but just 3 points, nothing more to be said.
Nedum?
Yeah, character.
Character and Leicester.
Other teams have managed to beat United, but Ipswich couldn't really do it. And I've just realised as well, looking at the league table, like the split in bottom and top is whatever it is. United are really not going to finish in the top half here. They're 9 points away from being in 10th position with 10 games to go. Like, I kept thinking at some point it'll turn.
Yeah.
But this is historically the worst season they've had in Premier League history. And we're just going to have to sort of nail it to that and say, well, it's not going to change, is it?
Well, there's still, of course, the FA Cup for the defending champions. They're in action this weekend. That's our late game on Sunday at Old Trafford. All kicks off on Friday. Aston Villa against Cardiff City. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you so much for joining us. Nedum is with us, Ali as well, Craig.
Too busy cramming all those cup competitions in to send you the right text.
Oh, that's
Sorry, I'm not even going to give you any context.
That's it.
On for you.
Stevie, disappointing we're not looking ahead to West Ham Leicester. What were you thinking when I asked you?
Well, that's a good question in general.
I didn't think we were going to even bother talking about Man United.
So
and
you
mentioned Leicester. So I thought you were going to talk about Leicester and West Ham.
That's what we normally do on this show.
Well, no,
West Ham,
but-
Leicester.
But considering the rubbish that had been on already, why not?
What show?
Wow.
Hey, all right, okay.
I'll send him to see you after. Craig, give Arsenal fans some hope for next season.
Good back four. Pretty solid midfield, might add to that. Oh, they've signed Zubimendi, I think, is it? Staring you in the face. You know, maybe some extra support in the wide positions, but definitely
Yep.
you've got to address the elephant in the room. What are you laughing at?
Well, we were looking for some hope, and then we kind of went back to the same.
yes. You took the hope away.
The hope is that
They'll sign a striker.
they'll address the glaring problems that they have.
But let's be fair to Craig.
What's that?
To ask Craig to give you hope,
Well,
that seems like we're
Well,
reaching.
that's somebody in a very desperate situation asking me.
Yeah. Nedum, why won't Arteta utilise a striker from the academy?
It's a good question. Maybe because they're probably not good enough right now.
Yeah.
I think that tends to be the way it works. Or maybe he's trying to make a point to the board that maybe he needs one for next season. So yeah, I'm sure something is in play, but realistically, they could have gone against Forest today and not made any difference as it stands. So yeah, I guess that's it for me.
Stevie, can we start singing the song? We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league.
I won't.
Why won't you? You have a lovely voice, I've heard
I
it.
just wouldn't jinx it. But I'm sure you're going to hear it between now and when the proof is in the pudding.
Right, okay.
So,
If you
there's your
sing it
answer.
tonight, now, right, and they don't win it, you'll
But it'll be my fault.
You'll be Nicol.
Yeah,
Help with
you're
my
the
fault.
Liverpool echo.
Yeah.
Former Liverpool legend Steve Nicol
Yeah.
curses.
Jinxed.
As soon as it's signed, sealed and delivered, you'll get it.
Ali, what can we truly expect for United to do in the summer if they can't afford to feed the staff in the cafeteria? This is the news where, of course, they're sacking 250 people. They used to have free lunches for everyone, which I didn't even know was a thing. But
What, lunch?
Well, we don't get free lunches here.
Well, no.
Is that
Well,
traditional
free or
business?
otherwise.
We have to pay.
You just go and help yourself.
I tell you what, they should be giving it away.
There is plenty to do.
Paying us to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you hating on the soups down at the
I tell you
cafeteria?
what, the soup. All right. I feel now.
Leave it, leave it.
I feel now that there's some
Leave.
glaring eyes.
Can you
and
believe I'm the voice of reason here? Leave it.
I feel now
Especially when it comes to
Leave
food.
it.
there's a glaring couple of glaring eyes in an office upstairs going, what the hell are they talking about the cat? So we're going to leave it.
Right, leave the calf thing. Yeah. Do you know? Sorry. Do you know we have the honesty calf? Obviously, it's where you can pay by yourself. Someone was a guest on SportsCentre and thought it was all free once. It just took a big
Really?
I mean, the checkout machine in front of all the snacks is not a giveaway.
It can't be relevant. That's fine. Just take it.
They might have done.
Right. Anyway.
Let's just say that Manchester United are at least 5-6 players away from anything that would make this team consistently competitive. I'm not even talking about winning anything. I'm talking about being competitive and actually a team that can be respected and not overlooked by Stevie in terms of the conversation, Leicester, West Ham, so on and so forth, right? There are at least 5 or 6 players away from that.
Right.
How you go about affording those players if you cannot afford food in the cafeteria, that's a different conversation.
What's at the top of this then, Nedum? Which position?
The soup in the cafeteria.
Do you know what? Let's disregard the playing side of things. Let's talk about the people who actually work at the football club and have done for a long time. You know, they've got the owner in who they thought that they wanted, and instead things are basically collapsing around them. I think a lot of people who work for football clubs, like the goodwill and the good feeling that they have, is something that they're proud of, and it goes beyond the football itself on the field. So for somebody to come in and to change everything from that standpoint to where your working environment is so different, you know, that's going to build resentment. So hopefully, you know, from their perspective, success on the pitch comes. But in reality, it's going to be harder to keep the staff there because of the fact that now they feel like being treated in an appropriate way. So maybe, you know, try and keep the staff happy, because then maybe the players will be happier, and then maybe they can be a successful football club again. But I'm not holding my breath.
If you went round that team talking about pushing them up to even be getting in the top 4 and said, what position do we not need to look at to get into the top 4? And the answer is that there's none of them.
No.
There's no position they don't need to look at.
Every single one.
Including the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
The defence, the midfield, and the front line. Everyone you could replace if you'd probably have to. I mean, that's just incredible.
Stevie, is Anfield a really tight pitch, or is it that the stands are so close to the pitch?
Yeah, it's because
stands?
of the proximity, yeah.
And then what is the biggest pitch that you've played on?
I think the biggest, it would be Wembley. Mm-hmm. But in terms of league clubs, Manchester City, which by the way,
the old one.
Back at Main Road.
The old Main Road.
Yes.
And the crazy thing about it is, it was the worst thing that Man City could do because they didn't have a very good team.
Right.
And so when teams like ours would go there, we couldn't wait to get on the field because it was so big. And we would just stroke the ball around and they would run after it. Then they'd collapse after an hour, and then we'd just steamroll them. But they never changed it.
Right.
No manager that I can remember ever came in and said, right, we need to narrow the field so we can compete. It was just a great place to go because you knew you were going to be able to play.
Nedum, you're on the terraces for that, watching that, I imagine?
Yeah, well, maybe not when Stevie was playing there.
No,
but I was ball boy there. And I guess they were just, come on, let's behave ourselves. But it was a massive pitch. It's funny that he said that because I was lucky enough to play in it a couple of times, winning the FA Youth Cup and in an academy like playoff semi-final as well. And it was always a massive pitch. You could see some teams really go and enjoy themselves there. And I was only speaking to someone the other day about, say, when I was ball boy, I think, it's towards the end of the time at Main Road. Arsenal, we always used to come there. Vieira's flicking the ball over people's heads. It's 4-5-0. And I was going to mention the fact that the Emirates was one of those really big fields as well. And it felt big because they made it big and they played it big, and it was always a nightmare. But yeah, some good memories from that place, Main Road.
What about Everton, Stevie Goodison? That's a big pitch, isn't it? Remember he pointed it?
Oh, God, that's when he was doing his maths.
He was arguing with me how big the penalty box was.
Yes.
I don't know how much. But then he went up to the screen and he pointed at that
The 10-yard.
10-yard line from the corner going, look!
So you miss out on all this, guys, all this excitement in the green room. Biggest pitch you played on, Ali?
I can't remember.
No.
I know, I can tell you.
So I wasn't expecting such disdain to that.
I remember smaller.
Sorry for asking a question.
Well, I can't remember. I would say you remember Spartan Stadium in MLS. That was smallest stadium or field.
San Jose.
Yeah, in San Jose.
Right.
It was made even smaller by the fact that there were walls right next to the sidelines, and so
When you took a corner,
yeah,
you couldn't take a corner.
you had to take a step.
You had to like jump over a wall, and then
Yeah, you were. If that's a corner flag, the wall was here.
right.
So you're actually standing against the wall to take a corner.
Yeah, so your run-up would be at an angle.
Right.
But for those that could play there at Spartan Stadium, and those of us who are challenged in the area of speed,
Yeah.
Spartan Stadium was perfect.
Because it was tight.
Because it's playing small-sided, and then being able to use your body was a strength. So I love playing at Spartan Stadium. Big fields, not so much. That's why I have disdain
That's why
for
the
the big
disdain
fields.
was there.
We don't measure parks when we go out on them, do we? Did you look at me?
Yeah, I did. I was expecting.
So I don't know if Wembley is the biggest. Is it? Is it the biggest? But I definitely played.
Do you know
at
what?
Ben Roberts.
You're right. It was the sort. There was something about it. It was legendary for sapping your strength.
Wembley.
Wembley. You're probably right. As opposed to the actual size.
Right.
It was something to do with the turf that sapped the energy out of you.
Will Højlund ever score again, Ali?
Well, I don't know why you're looking at me. I would say that what's well, there are many things that are troubling about Højlund. The fact that he's playing at Manchester United is one of those things, but he's not getting chances to score. And as a striker, it's one thing if you're missing the chances, but it's not like he's getting a multitude of chances that he's missing time and time again. They don't create enough. He has zero confidence, running around, doing a whole lot of work, and it's meaningless work, thankless work.
Final question, Stevie. What do you think of Szoboszlai's turnaround this season?
I think I wouldn't say the whole season's been a turnaround. I think just before Christmas.
Well, maybe he turned around this season, from the start of the season to now.
Right.
He's turned it around.
Well, to know, right now he's playing as though he's got 3 or 4 lungs, because the guy is absolutely running around everywhere. When he loses it, he's the first guy to chase. When he needs to defend, he's defending. When he needs to be in the opposition's box, he's in the opposition's box. So.
Is that not just fitness rather than having 4 lungs?
Well, it helps if you got 4 lungs, I can assure you. No, yeah.
It's a boy. No. How many lungs does he have?
And he's probably playing a little bit higher this year than he did.
Maybe the turf is not sapping the energy.
In Anfield, it's tight because of the stands.
Turf.
There you
But
go.
if you want,
Nice question to end. Oh, nice haircut, Dan Thomas. Oh, thank you very much. What?
I know.
I'm sorry, what?
Talk us through the front bit.
There was. He just kept going.
Oh, that
I know,
bit.
but you got like a silver fox thing going on.
It's
up
like an
there.
Elvis thing. Where he's like,
It was worth it just for that. It was worth it. Thank you very much. Stevie's here tomorrow for a 90-minute breakdown of
yeah, we got West Ham
Leicester.
Leicester. Yes, bring it on.
Be sure to join. Plus Shaka's Power Rankings.
Hey!
Oh, no.
No.